Hi guys, it's Caroline, and today here's some St. Patrick's Day content where I'm going to be recommending you some of my favorite books with green on the cover. First up, I have Thunderhead by Neil Shusterman. Now, I understand this is a sequel. This is not the first book in a series. The first book is Scythe, although I will say that I do think that the second book is the best in the entire trilogy. Basically, Scythe is about this world where everything's sort of been eradicated. No one dies anymore. So they have these people called Scythes who go around and kill people. The other interesting thing is there is sort of this AI that controls everything called the Thunderhead, and we're sort of introduced to it in the first book. It's definitely there, but it starts to play a much bigger role and almost sort of becomes a character unto itself. And so I really thought that this book expanded the world. Also, I hate the romance in the Scythe series, and this book, those two characters are not in the same place for most of the book, so the romance can't progress, and so I really appreciated that as well. But I do think that this is a really interesting trilogy in general. I think it raises a lot of ethical concerns and I really enjoy it. It's interesting writing, it's fast-paced, and this is the best. I could have also picked The Toll, which also has green on the cover, but like I said, I think Thunderhead is the best in the entire trilogy. Next up is one of my favorite books of all time. It even made it on my 10 books that really mean something to me, this needlepoint project that my mom did for me, and I have a whole video about that book. Is Normal People by Sally Rooney. She's not very long. You can read this in basically one sitting. It's about two people, Marianne and Connell, and they grow up in the same kind of smallish town in Ireland, and they sort of have a relationship in high school. She's sort of the smart but loner girl, and he's kind of a popular, although also smart, boy at school. They have sort of this secret relationship. His mom is the housekeeper at her house, but he makes them keep it a secret because he's kind of ashamed. Then they go off to college. The relationship's kind of been put behind him, and she's kind of popular in college because she's smart and interesting and whatever, and he just isn't used to the new setting, and he kind of becomes a more loner figure, and it's sort of about the development of their relationship. And there's a lot of miscommunication, which normally I absolutely hate when books are just the entire plot hinges upon them not understanding each other. But this miscommunication isn't just ooh, I have a secret and I'm not going to tell my mom. No, it's really based in their insecurities about different things. And you can understand why a person wouldn't want to share that or wouldn't want to come forward because they're nervous of how someone else is going to perceive them. Not in a really basic way, but just subtle things. And it's so well written, and it just it almost gets downloaded into your brain, if that makes sense. And there's just a lot going on. I really love it. And I think if you haven't checked it out, I think you really should, because you don't want to be the only person on the planet who hasn't read Normal People, especially when her third book is coming out this year, which I'm also very excited for. Next up, I have Fangirl, which almost matches my nails. So this is by Rainbow Rowell, and this is one of her books that's all kind of connected. There's a few books that are all connected, and this is sort of the basis for all those connected books. And so basically this is about a girl. She has a twin, and they go off to college, and she's sort of imagining, the one is a more nerdy twin, and she's sort of imagining all the great things her and her twin are going to do. And she discovers that her twin kind of wants to separate herself and be her own person a little bit. And she's really hurt, and feels really lonely. Another thing about the main character of this book is that she writes this really extensive fan fiction based on what is essentially whatever this universe's Harry Potter is. They're very, very similar. Except for in her fan fiction, it basically has the equivalent of the Draco character and the Harry Potter character, are in love. And she writes this fan fiction that's very, very popular. And so it's about her kind of coming into her own in university, writing this fan fiction, and just what happens. And I think it's just very cute. I did read it before I was a college student, so maybe now as someone who has experienced college, I wouldn't find it as entertaining. But me as a high schooler was I can't wait to get to college, even though she was lonely for a lot of this. And then actually Rainbow Rowell is writing a trilogy that is basically the fan fiction that this main character has written. It starts with Carry On, and then it's Wayward Son, and then there's a third one, Any Way the Wind Blows, that's coming out soon. So I think that's really interesting. I remember really enjoying Carry On. I haven't read the other two, so couldn't tell you, but I really think that this was this cute book. And like when I had this prompt, I was like, this is really, can you get more green on the cover than this? No, you can't. Next up is a bit of a throwback and also a bit of a stretch, and that is The Serpent King by Jeff Zettner. Now, okay, it's maybe more of like a brown, but like there's definitely green, and like this is green. Whatever, we're going with it. Anyway, this is a book about a boy in Tennessee, I believe, but it's definitely the South, and his father is this like really like intense minister who I think even like deals with snakes as sort of like a shtick he does in the pulpit. And so this kid gets like relentlessly bullied because his dad is sort of like a fire and brimstone like minister. And he just has his two friends who mean a lot to him, but other than that, he doesn't have many friends, and he's really excited for graduation and to get out of this like small town. And I just remember I read this in high school. I'm from the South. I live in the South, and I thought this was one of the most tried and true presentations of what a Southern town feels like. I thought it did a really good job portraying both the like harsh reality of it, but also I think a lot of people give the South a bad rep for just being like blanket racist, terrible, like not open-minded, but like there are nuances and like people are people. So it's not just a bunch of like hateful people everywhere. Like there are definitely hateful people in the South, but I think it's a lot more complicated than that. And this book really did a good job kind of showing that. And it also just like the setting was beautiful. And the story itself was like heartbreaking, heart-wrenching. I don't even want to talk about why, but I just remember this is one of the first books that as a high schooler, when I was sort of like in a weird stage where in my reading where I wasn't reading a ton, I just remember this was one of the few books that really stuck with me. And I remember absolutely sobbing, like just sitting there and sobbing and thinking, how could this book do this to me? And thinking it was just so, so good. And I feel like no one ever talks about it. And so here we are, read it. You know, it's been 6-7 years since I have, so let me know if it's still as good as I remember it. Okay, last but not least, again, maybe a tiny bit of a stretch on the green, is Chain of Gold. I'm not going to talk too much about this because I've talked about it a million times. I'm so excited to read Chain of Iron. This is a Cassie Clare book, and you can just read it even if you've never read a single Cassie Clare book. And honestly, I think you should just jump in and read this, or read the Clockwork trilogy and then read this. It is about these demon hunters and their kids, and they live in London, and demons exist and regular Londoners don't know, and they're sent to hunt them. Crazy shit's going down. Everyone loves everyone, and you don't know who's going to end up together, and you don't even know who you want to end up together. So I think it's great. I think it's fun, and I just had to do it. There's surprisingly few green books. So, and then a bonus book. It's not a recommendation because I haven't read it, but this is a book with green on the cover that I really want to get to soon, and that is The Gilded Ones. I am probably the millionth person you've heard talking about this, and I've talked about it before in our recent book haul, but this is about a girl, and there's some sort of ceremony where they show their blood, and it like kind of puts you into womanhood. And for whatever reason, this girl's blood is gold, which is not a good thing for her because it means she's got these powers. And if her like community discovers that, she will be killed. So basically someone comes forward and offers her this position in this special army, all full of people who also have their blood as gold. And so her decision is, do I go with this like army, or do I like die at the hands of my community? I think she chooses the army, and it's just off from there. I mean, this is probably one of the most beautiful covers that has a person on it. All right, well, happy St. Patrick's Day. There are some books with green on the cover, so you can carry it around and not get pinched today. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video soon. Bye.